The tune kept going on in the background and I was transfixed. It was something otherworldly, even with how much of it was missing. I just couldn't fathom who would create such a piece. Drawn in by the sound, I started walking to the back of Josh's shack. When I turned the corner, I was met with a sight even more confusing than the music. There stood a young girl with long black hair, wearing a perfectly white summer dress spanning just below her knees. Her skin was pale, almost unnaturally so for the middle of August. The wind was playing with the light fabric and her silky hair so gently, I felt dazed. I couldn't make out much more detail from the distance I was at, but I saw she was cranking an odd contraption placed atop a rustic wooden table. The inexplicably haunting melody coming from underneath her hands drew me forwards. Next thing I remember, I was standing right in front of her, looking into her deep brown eyes. She had little makeup, besides the red lipstick she was wearing. It stood out on her white face much like blood on snow. She was undeniably beautiful, her mesmerizing smile forcing my heart to skip a beat. I felt like a teenager who had just fallen in love, sweaty and confused, ready to run for cover.
"Would you like to join me?"
she asked, looking me straight in the eyes. I should have asked myself questions like, how was she there? What was she doing in the back of the pub? Why did she decide to play that weird thing? Who bought the table? Isn't this all too good to be true? Nevertheless, I was spellbound. I think I just nodded in agreement, not realizing what I was getting myself into.
"Take a look at this."
She pointed her hand at the large improvised music box in front of us. At the core of it was a copper hammer attached to a big cranking wheel she was operating by hand. It was moving along an iron rail which had rusted to the point it got uneven, making the music have a sad timbre to it. As the plank moved, it would hit these small copper nuts and silver coins attached to a long copper cable. Looking at it, I realized how it managed to produce tones that a piano wouldn't, but I found it confusing. How could something so old and broken still make such grasping sounds? It should have been a screeching mess, interrupted by dysrhythmic clangor every time the hammer bumped into the rotten iron. I was perplexed. No logical explanation came to my mind on how the instrument was working. I stared at it, hypnotized, time slipping away from me with every loop passing by. The summer sun is not a reliable time teller. The minutes and hours flying by as it refuses to leave the sky and settle under the horizon.
"Oh, evening time is upon us."
She stopped playing.
"Would you care to join us for dinner?"
I was so focused on the musical contraption, I somehow forgot she was there. I lifted my gaze to meet hers, and I saw her umber eyes, but I wasn't in the backyard anymore. We were on the back seat of a luxurious-looking SUV, coming into which I had no recollections of. A cold shiver ran down my spine, but there was something about her, something that reassured me that this was going to be fine. Perhaps that's the way a succubus abducts her victims to hell, but at that moment, I felt as if I could trust her with my life. Her eyes showed no malice. Her expression was strangely positive, almost childlike. She was talking to me, and I noticed the way she spoke was strange, but what else about her wasn't? She explained to me we were going to her house and I'd meet her family. She told me she had 2 brothers who meant the world to her and a stout conservative father who was very kind at heart despite his appearance. I was getting myself into a huge mess. In normal circumstances I'd be thinking how to jump out the car before I get killed wherever they were taking me, but again she seemed so benevolent. Her words painted a picture of a happy, loving home where I'd be accepted with open arms. It sounds insane, but her gentle demeanour made everything make sense to me. Even when I was visiting my ex-girlfriend's parents, after some good 7 years of dating, even then I felt uncomfortable. There was always this feeling that in the silence of the in-laws to-be lies unfathomable disapproval and blame. I didn't get that feeling with the girl in front of me, though. I was neither afraid of her brothers nor of the monarch of her father she was illustrating so vividly.
"He can stop a car with his bare hands,"
she exclaimed, with sparkling eyes and pride in her father. She sounded a lot younger than she looked, almost as if there was a child's soul in that beautiful woman's body. "He sounds very reliable," I concurred, never once getting a vision of the old man's fist pummeling my ribs into salt. Instead, I felt protected, as illogical as that is. The very man who was most likely to be my executioner felt like a friend, someone who would give his life for mine. It's scary to think how convincing the feeling was.
"I humbly welcome you to the Mayor Mansion."